A lot of men build successful careers, families, and businesses and still feel like something is quietly falling apart. When that collapse happens, it can look like failure from the outside. But sometimes it is the start of a rebuild that finally makes life honest. And tonight, dear listeners, we are talking about what it really takes to start over as a man without shortcuts or masks. So, hey, dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episode of Mind Meets Machine, where we explore the intersection of mindset, leadership, and the modern systems and real human psychology. And my guest today is, please welcome Ralph Brewer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Amazing for joining us today, Ralph. And dear listeners, before we delve deep into our discussion today with Ralph, I'd love to introduce with him. So Ralph is the author, speaker, and the founder of Help for Men. So he has become one of the most trusted voices, helping men rebuild their lives after divorce, loss, or the personal collapse, combining psychological insights with lived experience and straight talk. And in this episode, dear listeners, we will be exploring the rebuilding, masculinity, leadership, and what the modern entrepreneurship and the purpose really demand from men today. Yes, you heard that correct. So I'll not take much of your time. Let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Very good.
Amazing. So Ralph, before we get into the frameworks or maybe the advice, I definitely want to start personally, after your divorce and that period of personal collapse, what was the first uncomfortable truth that you had to face about yourself?
That my role in life that I had known at that point was over. So I had given myself, or rather the world had given me, the title of husband. That was no more. That was, one day I am, the next day I'm not. The role of father is something that persists, but your time with your children goes from 100% of the time to half the time. Thankfully, though, I had the children a great deal of time, the majority of the time, but still to have periods of time where it's a weekend and I don't have my children and I don't have a wife, that leaves you with a lot of, well, who am I? What am I? What is my role on this planet? What am I supposed to do with myself? Because for a lot of us men, we are caught up in what I call the family machine. It's all day, every day. Your structure is accounted for, the structure of your day. You know, from the time you wake up to when you go to bed, what you're going to do with each hour of your day. Your life dictates that. You have I had 3 children at the time, so it was, I do this with this kid, I take this kid to school, I do this, I drive to work, I drive back from work, and then suddenly life says, not anymore, you don't. And you're like, oh, what do I do? And at a deeper level, who am I? What do I want out of life? What is my purpose? What is my mission? Do I even have a mission and a purpose? I was just kind of running on automatic mode for years on end. And now that that's gone, I don't know what to do. And that is something I hear all day, every day from the men that I work with at helpformen.com.
Amazing. And the common misconception about it, a lot of men believe that rebuilding, it means hustling harder, making more money or finding a new relationship quickly. So from your work, what do you think men misunderstood most about what rebuilding actually requires?
If you want to do it the right way, it means taking a timeout and realizing that a lot of your behavior, what you just outlined there, work. If you're an entrepreneur, it's I'm working 12 hours a day. I can work 16 hours a day and then I can make more money. Or if you're a salesman, have the same kind of attitude. And also what a lot of men do, and you just pointed it out, is start up a new romantic relationship right away. And they do so under the guise of, I'm lonely. This last so many months or years of my relationship with my now ex-wife were very disconnected.
Okay.
And I want to feel that connection. I deserve that. I'm a human being. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get connection. And yes, for a lot of men, that means get a sexual connection with women because that was missing in his marriage. But really, if you stop and you think about what is it I'm doing here, you realize what's really going on under the surface, which is I don't have much in the way of self-worth. I'm a very anxious individual. I'm riddled with anxiety, probably always have been, but definitely now after being dumped, cheated on, divorced, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So how about we stop and say, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? What's going on with me? What got me into this mess to begin with? That's huge.
Yeah.
Why is it that I stuck out with what was probably a pretty toxic relationship for so many years? Why don't I
Mm,
like myself very much? Instead of, let me try to use other women, other human beings out there, women out there, as kind of human band-aids to make me feel good temporarily, that leads to a whole lot of chaos. And you just end up repeating
yeah.
all the same mistakes that you made before. We see that over and over again with these men. First, they have this feeling of, I'm always going to be alone. No woman is ever going to want me. And then, oh, one that wants me, one that likes me. And they jump into a relationship right away. They move her into the house after so many months. They intertwine, families, and just all hell breaks loose a year down the line. And they're like, why did this happen to me? Why did all this happen to me again?
Mm,
Well, you didn't take a time out and really think about what's going on in your head and what got you into that mess. And maybe we need to set romantic relationships aside for a bit. Maybe we need to focus on something like your mental health, your emotional health. Maybe we need to focus on those big picture issues of what is it you want out of life?
exactly.
Because when you do that, that takes care of a lot of stuff. When you have a sense of who you are and your identity, your values, there's a term that everyone throws around, but no one knows what the heck it means. Then who you connect with, suddenly that picture changes. Do I want
Mm,
to bring this person into my life? Do they align with my identity and my values? Instead of just, she's a pretty girl who didn't run away and she seems to like me okay. That's not the good basis for a life partner. And that's probably what got you into the big mess to begin
mm,
with. So a lot of questions you got to ask yourself as opposed to just hitting the ground running and going right into a relationship and all that fun stuff.
exactly. I totally agree. And that's sort of kind of time out for ourselves is very much required, where you get to know yourself better. Right. And obviously, I mean, what you mentioned, it really reframes rebuilding as a, I would say, internal process and not a kind of the cosmetic one for sure.
Mhm.
Definitely. It explains like why so many of men repeat the same patterns even after the major life changes or the challenges. So it's very true. And I believe people will get to know, give time to themselves. That is much important. So while also talking about the misconceptions and if we see the root causes and the patterns, so when men hit the burnout or divorce or loss of purpose, so what do you think are the deeper patterns that patterns you see showing up again and again beneath that surface?
Well, what a lot of men don't like to face, men are very, very, very resistant to
Mm,
taking a time out to look at the root cause of a lot of their dysfunction in their relationships, which is childhood issues most of the
mm,
time. I'd say 90% of the time, it's stuff that happened to you as a child has a great deal of effect on how you
mm,
form relationships in the future, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships or so forth. And for the men that I talk to, that has manifested itself into a guy who has very little sense of self worth. He doesn't like himself very much. He has a great deal of anxiety overall in life. He has very much an anxious disposition. He's very much hesitant about a lot of things in life. What if I mess up? What if nobody likes me? And so forth. So he basically just reacts to everyone around him and informs his sense of identity
mm,
based on what I think people need out of me in order to minimize the chances of people leaving me. That's like dictates everything in his life. And so when he stops to say, I need to work on my sense of self worth, again, that kind of changes all of that. And so what I see as the root cause of a lot of this is just a low sense of self worth that has its origins in a lot of childhood dysfunction. That's basically it.
exactly. I agree. I totally agree on that. I mean, this happens and it's a childhood dysfunction. I totally agree. Yeah. And but the, that connection between that validation, the identity, performance, it feels especially relevant in the business and the leadership, and it quietly drives a lot of decisions that men make. Uh, I totally agree on this, like about the childhood dysfunction you were mentioning. So how it shows up in real life, like so for a kind of high functioning men who are listening right now, maybe, or they'll be listening. They may be entrepreneurs, they may be founders or professionals. So, how does this crisis of purpose, or maybe I would say the masculinity, tend to show up in their everyday life before things fully break down?
Well, for those high functioning men, let's stick with them.
Mm, mm,
So, why are they going and not stopping? Because they're trying to perform and they're trying to win the approval of others. That's a big driver of it. A lot of men have an underlying anxieties, ADHD issues, and so forth, which may drive a lot of that behavior. A lot of men are masking, running from a lot of internal issues. And the busier I keep, the more I accomplish, the more apt I am to ignore a lot of
mm,
underlying issues that I know are there. And every time I sit still for any period of time and have a moment of silence, those issues come to the surface, and I don't like that. So I need to keep busy and I need to perform. And I learned, this is what a lot of high performing men say, is I learned at a very early age that my caretakers, my parents, my teachers, my extended family, they all loved me a lot more
yeah,
and accepted me a lot more when I performed. This is true in some cultures more so than others. In the
yeah,
Indian culture, for example, my friend, you got all B's on your report card. You're a disappointment, son. You've let me down. I want to see all A's and A pluses on this. You want to be a nurse when you grow up. Disappointment, son. What you need to be is a doctor, and not just any doctor. You need to be a surgeon, not just any surgeon, but a brain surgeon.
mm,
And you became a heart surgeon. Well, our friend, their child became a brain surgeon. I guess you can't be perfect. And just disappointment upon disappointment that your parents, your loved ones don't care for you unless you perform. And you internalize that as a little kid. And next
mm,
thing you know, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and the anxiety builds and builds.
exactly.
You succeed, quote unquote, succeed. You have the good grades, you have the large paycheck, you have the PhD, but you internally are a mess. And it's so funny that those guys who hyper succeed like that still do not like themselves very much at all. Deep down, they're very insecure. And that really comes to light when what? They're with this giant company and they are the vice president of sales of the company. And the company says, we are cutting back. We're cutting a lot of our executives and management teams. I'm sorry, but here's 6 months of salary. Goodbye. And the man says, I don't know what I am unless I'm vice president of sales of Acme Company.
Mm,
So he goes into the market to what? I got to find a new job right away. And the job market says, I'm sorry, but everything you knew at Acme Company doesn't apply out here to us. We don't care about any of that. We have this low level middle management position that you may qualify for, which means a third of your current salary. And the man's like, I can't do that. My entire sense of self-worth is my paycheck and my title. And without that, I don't know who I am. And so he scrambles. And those men do not do well because I talk to them. Substance abuse is not unusual. A lot of drinking, church is falling apart, all kinds of things, all because I don't know who I am without that. My entire life I've been performing, and finally, I don't know,
exactly.
maybe as an illness or something like that, who knows? And it calls into question a lot of things. So that's what we see for a lot of those high performing guys. And I bet a lot of people listening to this can relate to that. I know I can.
Even I can, and I totally love to mention that. So you mentioned this totally correct, because the feeling which happens is like, from the outside everything is looking great, everything is fine, and everything is fine, but somehow internally the pressure keeps building, like you mentioned, for the, especially, yes, I also take it, the Indian families, what used to happen right now it's a bit balancing right now, because now so we were the millennials and now the Gen Z's are coming in, so things are balancing right now. But during my time, so yes, so most of the thing were kind of like, okay, you're going to school, you have to bring good numbers, the grades.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to bring grades. If you're not getting grades, that means you're not performing. You are a bad student, right? Where you are comparing a person with their grades, not where it should be, like what capability that student has, a boy or girl, whosoever, mostly this pressure comes for the boys because you have to get good marks in 10th standard and 12th standard, and you'll have to take science. So there are streams, science, and there is commerce, and there is arts. So mostly parents used to pressure for the science, because if you take science, you'll get good other streams. But again, that is one pressure, and another is you have to have a good job, you have to have a huge salary. If you have, that means you are a successful person. But if we check back, it shouldn't have to be that pressurized, because not every child can bring good grades. It's not about the grade, it's all about the person. One person can be very good in English, one person can be very good in mathematics, one person can be very good in physics, but that doesn't mean they're bad. You cannot compare someone's capability with just a grade. So what I felt, I mean, in my childhood also, I used to feel like, why so much of pressure? Why this? If I am good at, so I was good into computer. I was good into computer. I was good into English and chemistry. Rest, I was not at all good at those subjects, be it mathematics, be it physics. I was not very good. So I used to focus on those subjects where I know I can, even if you give me any question, I can write because I know it inside out. Right. So this should be the scenario. And I feel like parents shouldn't be pressurizing any of the students, rather than supporting them what they can do better. It's not only about studies. It can be some games. It can be something fine arts. It could be. Who knows? That person could be another Picasso. Who knows?
Exactly
Right.
right.
So I can definitely feel that. And yes, I believe this will change. And people who are listening, I guess you can also relate. If you're also my same generation, millennials, then you can also feel that thing. So thank you so much for bringing that. I really love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so practically, if I have to say that, so if a man realizes that he is kind of disconnected, drifting, or maybe they are doing autopilot, operating on autopilot. So what will be the one grounded step you can guide, like they can take to start rebuilding without trying to fix everything at one place?
Well, I happen to write a book on the subject, and it's called Rebuild, the complete guide to starting over as a man. And you can learn more at readrebuild.com. We also have the book on the website, helpformen.com. All my books are on there. I've written 5 different books, but Rebuild is my latest. So you're right to point out that it's not all at once. One little chunk at a time, if you will, one little thing. Men, especially after some type of crisis like divorce, for example, or job loss, tend to freak out, as we say, and take on everything at once, and nothing gets done. Or everything gets done to various stages of completion, but never quite all the way. So a year goes by, and what have you accomplished? Half of this, fourth of that, half of this. So one thing at a time. Like, for example, stick with divorce.
Correct.
The first thing to face is the logistics of the business, the finances, all that ugly stuff of divorce, such as, what do I have to pay for? What money is coming to me? What are my rights with children and children custody? The legal things, the economics of it. Let's take care of that first before what? Maybe diving into what got me into this. Maybe diving into the dating world. I always tell guys, give it like a year off from that. So let's just focus on what's important and what we can control right now. Don't be ruminating on woe is me of all these things happening to me. What I can't control. Woe is me, I lost my job. Woe is me, my wife left. I'm going to be alone forever. Let's just focus on the important stuff right now. Your debts, your assets, your legal liabilities, and your rights as far as divorce is concerned. It's very, very common for men and women, let's be fair, who are in the middle of something as emotional as a divorce, will lose sight of a lot of things that they have a God-given right to, things that the law tells them that they have a right to. I have a lot of men who are married to women who make a great deal, much more money than what he makes. And he has people telling him, you can get child support to help you with the paying for the things for the kids, maybe even spousal support that is due to you and other things to help you. You have every right to that, rather. And he will he'll be just so caught up in the emotion of everything that he'd just wave a lot of it off and say, I just want this to end. I just want the pain to end. Just please, whatever, I'll sign whatever. It's like, no, don't sign whatever. Look over this. Have an attorney represent you and take care of you. You have rights here. So that's one very concrete example of step one, step two, and don't be jumping ahead to step 20, so to speak. But probably the most common is what we've already talked about, which is jumping into relationships way too soon. That I can't emphasize enough how much that can lead to a great deal of pain for a lot of men. It's a common scenario I often tell men is let's say your wife cheated on you, left you for another man, divorced, and now woe is me, no one's ever going to love me again. And then you find one by virtue of the fact that, let's say you're not even legally divorced yet, you're going through all this pain. It's funny how the universe works. It will connect you with equally broken people.
Correct.
And they will be going through their own trauma, if you will. So now you have two traumatized, broken, chaotic individuals getting together. And it feels amazing, though. So you feel like I found my soulmate. This feels awesome. I've never felt this in love before in my life. She's perfect in so many ways. Thank goodness God, the universe has blessed me with such a person. This is awesome. I was feeling horrible. Now I feel amazing. And because of the chaos of that situation, it blows up. And what those men will say is this breakup actually feels worse than the divorce I just endured, because it's as if the universe said, here you go, here is your salvation. And then it pulls it out from under you. And you're left again feeling what? Abandoned, lost,
Exactly.
lost sense of identity, hurt all over again. So now you got to go back and then several steps before that to say, time out. What's going on with me? Why do I keep doing this to myself? What is the root cause of all of this? So one little thing at a time, guys, if you're listening to this, don't jump in all at once. Don't do the mistake that 90% of the men that I talk to do, which is jump into romantic relationships too soon. Don't ignore the finances. Don't ignore the children's situation. One little thing at a time.
Exactly. One little thing at a time. I really appreciate that. And dear listeners, do let us know also like how you relate to this discussion, because I believe this is something these days, these kind of scenarios are increasing day by day. And it's not only us, but yes, if we all together come and make it a kind of understanding and take things one at a time, definitely you will see the change, right? So that is the thing. So how to handle it, right? Handle the setbacks, because it's not only me, it's not only you. There will be a lot of people who will feel kind of setbacks during this period, right? So rebuilding is definitely rarely clean or linear, I would say. But when men hit the setbacks, because I'm mentioning again, because when men hit the setbacks, relapse into old habits, or kind of they lose the motivation, right? And so what helps them stay in the process instead of giving up? What do you say on this? Because I have seen it for a few of my friends, and I have also listened to a lot of episodes where this kind of scenarios happen. It's not only one or two. I have, in most of the cases, men actually lose the motivation. So
Yeah, that's not only common, that's the norm. That's to be expected. You're going to have setbacks. It's like you say, it's not linear. It's not just a straight shot up. It's
exactly.
forward 3 steps, back 2, forward 4, back 6. Oh crap! Does this ever end? No, it doesn't. That's life. But what I have seen, and I cannot overemphasize this, what helps through all of this is a sense of community, a tribe, a mentor group around you, preferably of like-minded men, other men. I'm talking to men now. So if you're a man and you think you can do this all alone, all you need is your internet connection, and you'll stay home in your basement, in your bedroom. You'll go to your work and come home and never talk to other men, never work with other men. Good luck. It's probably not going to go very well. It means the world when you're a man and you're like, I'm experiencing a setback, or I am experiencing a crossroad moment where I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go left or right. It could go either way. I don't know which way makes sense for me right now. To have like a mentor group, a board of directors, if you will, to turn to say, what did you do when you came to this crossroad moment? What do you guys think? You know my situation. What should I do here? Or, oops, I made a big mistake. What do I do now? Or whatever. To fall back on a community that is there to help you specifically for that, whatever it is you're going through, is huge.
Mm.
And unfortunately, most men, the vast majority of men out there, do not have that. Men are terrible about cultivating a social group around them, a deep social group. In the US, especially, we're so busy with work, with kids, with everything else, that to set aside time for real, true friendship and companionship is way down on the line of priorities. And it's not until your life blows up that you realize just how important that is.
Exactly.
Women are way better than that than men are. So after divorce, many men will notice it seems like everyone is coming to my ex-wife's rescue. She was the one who cheated. She was the one who did all these horrible things. And here I am alone and no one checks on me. And the knee-jerk reaction is people just hate men. Everyone loves women. And that may be there may be a piece of truth to that, but mostly it's no, sir, your ex-wife has done a masterful job of cultivating a social group around her year after year after year. She knows this person who knows this person who knows that she's formed this web of people around her, this network. And you have a couple of guys that you kind of sort of hang out with every now and then, and that's it. And office mates, and that's it. And that doesn't cut it in life. So we recognize this disparity, if you will, of this need. And we have a community for men at helpformen.com. It's called the Brotherhood. And it's a private support community for men. We get together online. We get together in person. We have live Zoom meetings. We have live forums. We have all my books. We have over 50, at this point, 1,500 hours of audio content for our members. We record all the meetings and all my books are available. So men love audio. They love listening to podcasts and audiobooks and YouTube videos and everything. We have all that within there. And we call that the Brotherhood. And your listeners, can learn more about it at helpformen.com/join. Go right to the join page and learn all about what it is that we have to offer there. And we have hundreds and hundreds of men from around the world, including India, including all over the US, Europe, Canada. Australia is our number 2 market, believe it or not, for whatever reason. So a lot of Australians, a lot of Aussies. So the awesome thing to see every day, all day, is somebody will post something in one of our private forums saying, have any of you dealt with this? And immediately 10, 12 people saying yes. And I just dealt with this last year. Don't worry, you're not strange. You're not weird. You're not weak. This is what I did. And this is how it ended up. This is the mistakes I made. Don't do this, whatever you do. That's invaluable for men going through something like this. Because so many men that I talk to going through some kind of major life struggle like this, divorce, job loss, whatever it may be, all say the same thing. I felt like I was alone. I didn't think anybody else was going through this specific set of issues that I'm going through. And you realize, no, there are millions of people out there going through it. It's just that everybody says, I feel alone. I don't know where to go. I guess I'll just suffer alone. And you don't have to. First, one piece of advice to all men out there is do not be afraid to raise your hand and say, I need help. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to, but you have to be the one to step up and say, I need help. That's really tough for a lot of guys, which is why you had to form this very formal community just for that express purpose.
Exactly. Lovely. So before we move, for the men who are listening right now, who feels that he has lost his edge, his confidence, or his direction, then what would you want him to reflect on tonight after this conversation ends?
What is it you're doing to proactively address the situation? And that doesn't mean sitting online and going on and on about how women stink and how the economy stinks. And no, we can all do that. Like, what are you doing proactively to address these issues and get to the core, the root of what's going on? And have you, in fact, seeked out help? Have you raised your hand and said, I need a little assistance here? If not, why not? So take good, honest inventory of yourself and your current situation. Don't be yes to yourself, as we say. You're not fooling anybody. So if you take good, honest inventory of yourself and you're like, I don't like what I see. It's like, well, good. Now you have a starting point. You know what to work on. That's great. And if you take the honest inventory and you start doing work towards rebuilding your identity, your sense of values, who you are, and then branching out from there, well, guess what? You are doing what a very small portion of individuals out there do. Now you are on an elite team of potentially very successful individuals. Every successful man that I know is part of some kind of network, whether it's professional, social, whatever it is, because he recognizes I can't do this alone. I need help with this. All of them do this. Your super successful CEOs, whatever it may be, there's not a lone wolf in the bunch at all. So you can get that out of your head. So guys, it's time to make some change, and you have a lot of power to do that.
Exactly. That's a great advice, I would say, Ralph. And dear listeners, I just like to summarize this thing what we discussed in a few smaller points. Like rebuilding your life or our life is not just about becoming someone brand new, but it's all about doing that inner work that is required. That is required to lead your life with the clarity, responsibility, and obviously self-respect. Right. That is much, much important. So, Ralph, for the listeners who want to explore your book, your podcast, and want to connect with you, or the Help for Men Brotherhood, where should they go and connect with you?
The hub of everything is helpformen.com. And if you want to jump right to the join page, helpformen.com/join. I also do a great deal of social media content under the name of Dad Starting Over. I've been doing that for over a decade now. So a lot of people know me from that. And a lot of people know me from my best-selling book, which came out years ago, and the third edition just came out last year. It's about sex and marriage, and it's called The Dead Bedroom Fix. So a lot of people know me from that book as well. But Rebuild is my latest book. Rebuild, the complete guide to starting over as a man. Check it out on Amazon, or you can go to our website and download it from there at Read Rebuild.
Exactly. Perfect. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links and the details into the show notes for your easy reference so that you can easily connect with Ralph. And Ralph, thank you so much for the honesty and the grounded perspective that you brought today. And for everyone who is listening, if this episode has resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on where you may be outsourcing your sense of worth and what rebuilding might look like if you took full ownership. Let us know what you think. And with this hope, this is your host, Avik, and this is Mind Meets Machine. Stay aware, stay grounded, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.